Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well on this Sunday this Sunday night. I hope everyone is doing well. Today we will be discussing Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 4, and it's called The Vault. The Vault. um, Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Everything in the video is alleged. It is from my opinions and my perceptions of the things that I see on this show. With that being said, on tonight's episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta starts out with Angela and Britt meeting up to go walking, and they're catching up, and it seems that they're trying to get to know each other. Angela lets us know that her and her sister aren't seeing eye to eye. Also, their mother, because evidently with her and her husband were going through issues, and whatever those issues were, that people always tell you don't share a lot of what's going on with you and your spouse or you and your significant other with your family, because you and your spouse or your significant other may have gotten past the issue, but your family is still going to be mad with them for whatever reason. So evidently, Angela's mother is having some opinions, and she voiced those opinions to her husband, and of course her husband feels away. And then Angela is financially supporting her family, and a lot of that support comes from her husband. So you can't be dipping in these people businesses and you expect them to financially support you. So yeah, they got an issue that they got to try to work out. Britt also lets us know that, she's helping her family financially. And her sister has an issue with her husband because, like, Mike thinks he's my dad or something like that. And we find out that Angela is planning on inviting everybody to a dinner that she's having, including Shamia. And Britt lets us know that, to her, Shamia is very warm and welcoming. And of course, Angela doesn't feel that way. I feel like they both were kind of bullheaded at the time. They both were trying to defend their friends. So it's nothing that a simple conversation. I feel like they could get past it with a conversation. Anyway, who is that? Britt feels that Kenya is snooty. And she's like, she knows she takes jabs, but these jabs that she takes, they aren't meant to be mean, and she doesn't mean anything by it. But you can't really say that you don't mean anything by it when you're taking jabs at people. You can't control how people respond to the jabs that you take at them. So there's that. The next scene we're gonna see is where Shamia goes to, she ain't going anywhere because she's laying up at the pool, and her sister comes to see her. And We find out, if we didn't know already, that Shamia has been in several groups, and she's really trying to get into her singing bag, and she is really putting it out there this episode. And she lets her sister know that Angela invited her to dinner and she wants to extend an olive branch to her. Next, we're gonna see where Portia goes to meet up with her team, and she tells us about how in the last 3 years that she was more focused on being a wife, but now she needs to change that up. She feels like she needs to grow up, so she feel like she needs to start leveling up because she wants to be a $1 billion brand. So now she is focusing her attention on pampered by Portia, and she wants to move on into home decor. They are talking about looking for ambassadors for No Go Naked. And of course, one of the people on her team was like, Drew had reached out. And Portia's like, she has a whole admin team. The thing about it is the whole admin team is named Portia, spelled differently. But it is what it is. I think the whole thing with Portia and the whole situation with Portia and Dennis and Drew is just for the show. Honestly, it's just for show. That's it. That's all. They doing all this for the show. Next, we're gonna see what Ralph is out doing training with the kids. Of course, Drew is there. She's saying that they are better as co-parents. Ralph says Drew has, because one of the kids asked if the mother could if Drew could run drills. Of course, Drew was like, you need to ask your father if it's okay. And I guess he said it was okay. So she started running. It was like, don't tear your Achilles. Then, they did a flashback of when she tore her Achilles before. So with everything that's been going on with Drew in that leg or that foot, she don't need to be trying to run at all because she always ends up hurting something. So she really don't. But he ends up telling her that she's in the way of practice, and so she gets out of the way. She says she's happy that they can coexist. We find out they aren't to discuss the divorce with the kids. Drew says that Ralph is a narcissist, and Ralph says she's crazy. And of course, she goes to trying to pull up what the meaning of a narcissist is. Ralph then apologizes to her. And then, he played in her face because he's like, narcissists can't apologize. Basically, the only reason you even did that is try to prove that you weren't a narcissist, but further proving that you are. But anyway, he does apologize to her if that is her experience with him. And of course, she's like, you now have the free reign where you can do whatever you wanted. And he's basically like, he just want to be there for his kids. But whatever. Anyway, next we're going to see where Kenya, and Kelly meet up. We'll see where Kenya shows Kelly around her salon. We'll find out that Kelly has a bodyguard, and she lets us know that she has a restraining order against her ex-husband. And she said he has threatened to unalive her, and he threatened to unalive her in court, which is a part of the reason she was granted the restraining order. And he can't see the kids right now. And she lets Kenya know that, he's trying to take everything. He wants the businesses. And so she was like, well, did you have the businesses before him? And she was like, it was created during the marriage. And because they were married for 11 years and the business has been in business for 8. So, of course, we found out a couple of episodes ago that he did close one of the restaurants, and of course, she's trying to open another one. And yeah, um, Kelly says that she doesn't know what the deal is with Britt and Kenya because Kelly likes Kenya. So she doesn't see what Britt sees. And she asks Kenya if she's going to franchise. Of course, Kenya says that's the plan. She wants to. And she feels like she's thrown away her daughter's college education on opening this salon, this hair spa, because she says she has, as of to date of this episode, she had invested $400,000 in it. And of course, she was afraid that it wouldn't work out. Of course, she started crying, and Kelly spoke life into her and let her know that, everything's going to work out, and it's going to work out for the best. Next, we're going to see where Britt goes to meet her sister, and it seems like Britt sits there for a while before the sister shows up. We find out the sister is mad, and sister blocks everybody. And the sister lets us know that when she wants to have a conversation with Britt, she can't, because Britt is always talking about her husband, her husband, her husband. But she's like, she understands that she's married now, but at the same time, you can't throw away your family because you're married. You still need to set aside that time to spend with your family. And it seems like since she has gotten married, it's like it's taken over her identity, because it's spilling over to where she can't spend time with her family as she should. And of course, she wants to know when she's saying that, when there are times when she just wants to have a conversation with her sister, and Mike, which is Britt's husband, is right there, and she feels like they should be able to have conversations without your husband being in the midst of the conversation, which is true. You should be able to have conversations where it's you and your sister. She shouldn't have to call her sister all the time and be like, well, I just want a sister conversation. Common sense should tell you at some point you should want to just have that sister conversation. It doesn't always have to be your husband in the middle of your conversation all the time. But anyway, she tells her sister she loves her, and they would need to try to keep the lines of communication open. Next, we're going to see where Drew goes to the studio. And of course, Dennis is there, which means Portia is going to have an issue because of the fact that she asked Dennis not to film with Drew, which I do not understand. I still do not understand that, because they're making money. This is going to help Pilar. This is going to help y'all family dynamic, because it's help contributing to the well-being of your daughter. So I don't see the big deal with him filming with Drew in relations to the business. That's just me. I could just be special. Maybe it's just me. If it's just business, it's just business. We know Drew and Dennis aren't screwing. We know that. I don't understand what the big deal is with them doing business together. I don't get it. But whatever. Then Drew said that she's been in a lot of trouble lately. She lets Dennis know that, Portia has been going nuts, which Dennis knows because he's had the conversation with Portia. He said that, he's going to let her run point on that, which I feel like they both should have talked to Portia. If you didn't, that's on y'all. But I do feel like, first of all, with Drew and Portia, I do feel like that needs to be a one-on-one conversation. She's talked to Dennis. We saw that on camera. But after Portia and Drew have a one-on-one conversation, I think Portia, Drew, and Dennis need to have a kumbaya. I really do. So everybody would know everybody that's on, the same page. Me personally, I do think it's for show, and it's for camera, and it's for oohs and ahs for the show. But hey, that's just how I feel. But anyway, but Dennis was like, when all this popped off and it was, starting to work together in the business, shit, Portia was in Nigeria eating fufu. He had to conversate with her about this. But it is what it is. They said they gotta let Portia be Portia. And when Portia is ready to talk, they'll talk. Whenever that is on Portia's time. Next, we're going to see where all the ladies are getting ready for Angela's dinner. We see where Shamia calls Portia. They have a conversation about getting ready. Well, while they're getting ready. So then we're going to see where Angela pulls up at this place called, I guess it's the vault, the bank, whatever it is. We see Angela arrives first. And the theme is Black excellence, and they've asked all the ladies to wear all black. Baby, why is Team Twirl come up there with a blue dress on? How is it Kenya is the only person that didn't wear black and said she didn't get the memo? Baby, Portia said it was all on the little thing that they sent out. You couldn't have missed that it was all black. Then she goes that she doesn't own black. Come on now, Kenya. Why couldn't you just have went with the plan? I mean, why you just had to be different? You just had to be different. I didn't see the big deal with you just wearing the freaking black. Just wear all black. Y'all just can't be cohesive and be in the theme for anything. Anyway, Shamia arrives and she brings a bottle of olive oil with a branch in it because she states that she wanted to extend an olive branch. Angela accepts. Of course, she apologizes for how she came across, and I guess they're gonna move forward. It's supposed to be Black excellence, but it's not gonna end. So somehow they get on the subject of the Balmain event, and she was thanking the people for spending and supporting the event. But they were saying there was somebody that didn't purchase anything. And so they was like, so who didn't purchase anything? Girl, they looked at Drew. Drew was like, I did. I bought a blazer. And of course, she was like, that blazer cost me $2,000. And so Kelly is like, Drew is sitting there showing her where she's talking to the sales lady and she's doing all of this and that, but she hasn't produced a receipt showing she purchased anything. Baby, I don't know if Drew purchased nothing or not because we know Drew will lie, baby girl. Drew will lie. True a lie. But it is what it is. But the girl is like, well, we see where text messages is coming through from Dennis. And she's like, girl, it's a group message. So you can tell it's more than just Dennis in there. So I feel like they're still trying to get a rise out of Portia. But me personally, like I said, I feel that still is just for show. Because I go off of what I'm seeing on Instagram and how she's on there talking about Drew with the little fire emojis and my baby daddy, and they did that with this song. Girl, it's all for the show. It is all for the show. But anyway, they were talking about Drew had brought extra people, but she didn't purchase anything because Drew brought her sister. Drew bought her, I guess that was her makeup artist, and it is what it is, girl. They asked Kenya about the salon, and she lets them know that she's getting ready to open. Of course, she's letting everybody know she wants to support. Portia saying they're going to support, but she wants stuff for free. Of course, Kenya laughs. We know, they did a lot of shade in this doggone thing. And somehow they get on a subject of asking questions. And my thing was, you're supposed to be asking people questions. So I'm trying to understand why everybody was, I don't even know who all was asking the question, but they kept asking Kenya questions before we get there. Shamia played her song for the group, and Portia is a hater. She's talking about that's not Shamia's voice, that's Drew's voice, that's Drew. And Shamia's like, girl, shut up. Shut up. You just acting ditzy as hell. Just shut up. And don't get me wrong. I like Portia. I do. But Portia is such a hater. You can see the little hate and jealousy all over her face. And she's talking about she couldn't tell that was Shamia's voice because you too busy trying to make it not be her. Listen, just shut up and listen. She's sitting there telling you that's her. And then at the end of the doggone song, you're like, are you on it? Really, Portia? Really? Really? Oh my gosh. Don't make me dislike you this season because it's starting to happen. Girl, you doing team. You do fun shade and stuff like that. But I don't like when you're not being supportive of your friends. Shamia has been your friend for a very long time, and you in this moment are not. Well, hell, in a lot of moments you have shown that you have not been her friend, and I didn't like how this scene went. I really didn't. But back to all these questions for Kenya, which I didn't understand. Lord, the people asked what kind of underwear the girl had on. She sat there and pulled her dress up. Portia talked about her moose knuckle and she got a big coochie. And I'm like, what the world? What in the hell what are y'all doing? Baby, the girl said the girl got a moose knuckle, talking about what you doing. Got the biggest moose knuckle in the world. Baby, I cannot. And I thought everybody was supposed to have a singular question, but all the questions keep coming at Kenya as it relates to Brit. And I don't see I don't understand this big issue. I really don't, because I feel like Brit turned this whole thing into a situation that it shouldn't have been, because she's sitting there and she's talking about she patted me and she didn't give me a real hug. She isn't even obligated to hug you. I mean, what? Y'all trying to get to know each other. What is the deal with you in Kenya? Really? And then you got in your feelings because she told you that peasants can't come for the queen, and it went left. When I say it went so far left, because you out there talking about guns and you don't know me and I'll do this and I'll do that. And from what I heard, you basically threatened the lady. And of course, I don't see why it went left the way it did, because it didn't make any sense to me unless they cut out a lot of stuff that we didn't see, because that switch, because I feel like Britt has been having an issue with Kenya from the gate, and it has been a build up every episode. And then today on this episode, when she called you a peasant, it's like it's something in your head just snapped. And when you snap, baby, you talking about you do this and you'll do this and whoop the whoop the whoop. And baby, you was all mic'd up talking about. And I felt like it was over the top. And even with that, when Shamia and Portia, she let Kenya get in the car and she was going to let Kenya ride off with them, because Kenya was like, she said something, and she did say something about a pow pow. She did. I heard her say something about the pow pow, and she'll do this, that, and the third. And it's just like, girl, you're doing too much. And I feel like I don't know what it is that we missed on this episode or in this scene that they cut out, but whatever it is what prompted the next thing Kenya is going to do, because they're going to show something, because Kenya is like, we got to get rid of this girl. And I'm like, why is it? But I can understand, I guess, because she felt like the girl threatened her, which she did. I just feel like it didn't have to go left the way it did. There was no reason for it to go all the way left like that. I don't know, Brit. I don't know why it went left, but it did. And it's just crazy to me. Next week, we're going to see how left this is going to continue to go. So with that being said, that's going to be it for me in this doggone episode. And I just think it's crazy. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about this particular episode. Do you think Brit did too much? Do you think Kenya instigated this whole thing, or do you think it was just Brit? Because I feel like it just went left. What do you think about how Portia's acting in this season? I'm not feeling it at all. But with that being said, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And I will talk to you guys soon. Y'all have an amazing night. Talk to you soon. Bye.